Vendors are the businesses or individuals you purchase goods and or services from. The ACH feature in CenterPoint allows you to do electronic transfer payments to your vendors. Let's go look at the ACH Payments tab in a vendor detail. We're going to select from the top Setup and Vendors. We're going to edit a vendor and go to the ACH Payments. If you've made an agreement with this vendor that you would pay them with an electronic transfer payment file, then you'll want to activate ACH transactions. NASHA requires that when a transaction is submitted for processing, the transaction must select a standard entry class. And the options are PPD, CCD, and CTX. A PPD is a pre-authorized pay deposit for credits and debits that process against consumer accounts, such as payments to vendors and direct deposit. A CCD is a corporate credit or debit, where credit and debit entries processed against a non-consumer account for payments to vendors and collections of customers. And a CTX is a corporate trade exchange to facilitate business-to-business transfers of funds. We're going to select PPD, and then you can select out of the options of a transaction code that indicates what type of file is being selected for this particular vendor. They can select to do a checking account, a savings account, or a line of credit. And each one of these options also have a pre-note option. The pre-note is a term used by Automated Clearinghouse to validate the routing number and the bank account number of the receiving bank. So when you select to do a pre-note, it's going to do a $0 file and then validates if that's a valid bank routing number and a bank account number to be used on your next time for a live transaction. So we're going to select to do a pre-note checking. And next we need to put in the bank routing number for this particular vendor's bank account. And that'll be an 8-digit number with the 9th number being a checking digit to validate that that's a correct bank routing number. And then put in the right account number for that particular vendor. Once we have that information, we're ready to save it. And we can next go and run that pre-note right now. We don't have to wait until we're ready to do our next payment to that particular vendor. We can get the pre-note done ahead of time, and it's best to do that at least 6 days, banking days prior to your first live ACH file that you might want to use to pay that vendor. So we can do that by going up to Processes and then ACH Files and create pre-note. And when we do that, we're going to select our bank account up at the top and our company and our bank account. And then we're going to select All Power Equipment. That's the vendor that we want to do the pre-note on this time. You could do several at one time. If you had a whole list of vendors that you just added an ACH payment description to, you can do several at one time. But we're going to click the Create button. That brings up the Create ACH Direct Deposit File. And then we can do a submission date that we want and an effective entry date. In this case, we can do the same day. And it defaulted to the folder that we indicated in our bank account information, and I'll show you that in just a second. And then what kind of immediate origin we want, and it's defaulting to using our bank routing number that our bank is indicated, and we're ready to create that file. Once we create that file, then we can go ahead and the next entry that we do, it will be ready to do a live transaction because it changed our vendor. I'll go over here to the left, and if we go back to our ACH, it switched our option from pre-note to checking. So it is now ready on our next payment to do a live payment for that vendor. The other piece that needs to be in place in order to do ACH payments is under Setup, Accounts, and Accounts, we need to identify in the bank account that we're using to pay the vendor the bank information for doing the ACH electronic transfer file for our side, for us as the payer. So we're going to go to the detail and go to the ACH direct deposit tab. And this information needs to be filled out to coordinate with what our bank is needing in order to do an ACH payment with the bank. So for this information, we have another video that goes through each one of these fields, and you'll want to refer to the video called ACH Bank Account Information to help you with that. And there's also a video of ACH payments that will help you in how to make that payment using the ACH type vendors.